How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Monster Territory, brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. And when you're going up against the best team in the American League, the team that is tied for the best record in all of Major League Baseball with the Mets, they're playing the Pirates as of right now. Let's see what the Mets can do. But the Tigers, they're a very good team this year, and you can't be going out there looking like that. The Tigers absolutely smoked the Red Sox tonight, 14-2. The final brings back memories of that Game 1 loss to the Rays in Tampa at Steinbrenner Field. Tanner Houck, once again, another reminiscent of that night. Absolutely awful. 2 1/3 tonight. 2 1/3 tonight, 11 earned, just like the last start against the Rays. We'll break that down here. The defense, not very good tonight. A couple more errors. There's a couple of bright spots to get into, but overall, a pretty terrible night for the Red Sox. But before we get to the post-game breakdown, we do have a word from our sponsor.
Hey, FT fam. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, Cam, because we're busy and we would like all of the ingredients to cook up something nice and make us look like elite chefs at home.
You know what I do? I've got kids in basketball, I've got soccer, I've got baseball. And when they get home, there's a fresh meal and they think, "Oh, Dad, he's so great." Well, no, it's not me. It's HelloFresh. It's nutritious. It's packed full of good nutrients. The kids have good energy, and they look at me like I'm the greatest dad in the world. So make sure you go grab that HelloFresh because you know what? It's doing my family all the good.
Cook up dishes like chicken Dijon and pecan crusted trout, over 100 seasonal snacks, sides, and treats as well. Feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule and make the season even more delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM now to get 10 free meals with a free item for life. One per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by.
Alrighty, let's get to the post-game breakdown. And obviously, the big story tonight, Tanner Houck, 2 1/3, 9 hits, 11 earned, 2 home runs allowed. I guess you could say 3 because they also had an inside the park home run. Listen, when you're off against this Tigers lineup, which has been one of the best lineups in all of Major League Baseball this year, 6th in offense on the year on Fangraphs so far, and 4th in runs scored on the year. This is a very good offense. Yes, Alex Bregman, the Tigers were a possible landing spot for him this past offseason, and he got booed tonight in Detroit. But hey, they showed you tonight they didn't even need Alex Bregman, but you can't be coming to town, performing like that against a good offense like this. Gleyber Torres getting it started, had the 2-run home run there in the first inning, left a sinker a little too over the plate. That's when you kind of thought with Tanner Houck, could there be some issues with the command? And, but he did clean it up there in the second inning, had a 1-2-3, but then he just completely fell apart in the third. 9 runs allowed. The big one was the inside the park home run. Right after that, I think a lot of people turned off the TV screen. They grabbed the remote. They said, enough of this tonight. We're done. This is a loss. I'm going to go get myself a snack, and I'm going to pack it in for the night. Unfortunately, Wilyer Abreu, who is very well known for his defense, I think he had his eye on trying to get a runner out possibly, and he took his eye off the ball, just like they say in Little League. As I was growing up, they always said, keep your eye on the ball, field the ball before you make the throw. Don't throw the ball before you field the ball. And that's what happened to Wilyer there. And again, it's very rare to see Wilyer have a mishap like that. Unfortunate to see. But I think at that point, you got to be thinking for Tanner Houck. He's already struggling. Things aren't feeling very good. And when, something like that happens, you pretty much just start to shut down at that point. He ended up just getting beaten down even more. Once, Alex Cora came out to get him, he just looked dejected on the mound. He looked dejected pretty much the entire night in the dugout. Obviously, you could look at his face, and that pretty much told you the story. A lot of people on social media saying, hey, Tanner Houck, do we got to send him down, skip a start? I'll talk about that in just a second here. But the problem with Tanner Houck on the night, he just didn't have his command. He didn't have a good feel for the pitches. I'm wondering if there's something mechanically going on. That has been an issue with Tanner Houck in the past. But with the stuff, if you're having issues with the mechanics, that could definitely lead to some issues with the stuff. The spin rates were down. He wasn't getting guys chasing out of the zone. The Tigers just had him picked up from the get-go. Once they saw he didn't have any fastball command and he was really having to rely on the breaking pitches, going to the sweeper, going to the splitter, they pretty much just knew what was coming at that point. Gleyber Torres, the sinker to Gleyber Torres wasn't necessarily a bad pitch, but that's just a happy zone for him. He loves those pitches inside. He's able to turn on those. We saw when Gleyber Torres was with the Yankees, he was able to turn on those pitches quite a bit. But Tanner Houck, he just wasn't able to come inside enough on that pitch. But a lot of other of the fastballs on tonight, he just wasn't able to hit his spots. He was out of the zone. It was very clear there was something going on there. And again, just hanging pitches, right? Sweepers, splitters, not out of the zone enough, leaving him too much over the plate. Again, I'll bring it up. I wonder if there's something going on mechanically there, but that's something that Andrew Bailey, he's going to have to look at in between his tonight and his next start. So that's what I'm thinking. But as for getting sent back down, to the minor leagues or maybe, going on the IL. I mean, again, I'm not coming up with those. This is just what I was reading on social media. I don't think you do that. Maybe you could do a phantom IL, kind of a stint. Maybe you could skip a start, something like that. But when you take a look at the last couple of starts he had, he looked great against the Blue Jays a couple of starts ago. Didn't have his best stuff against the Rangers, but the results ended up being fine for the most part. Didn't go as deep as he would like him to. I just don't think they're going to make a move like that unless it's something consistent. He was able to get himself corrected after that Rays start the last time. So let's see what happens here his next start. Again, I do think there was a bit of a mechanical issue going on here. Now, we did have, a couple of bright spots. Again, this isn't really a night where you can feel too happy, but there were some things. Sean Newcomb coming out of the bullpen, 98 pitches, 5 2/3, 9 hits, 2 earned. I mean, listen, this is the second time now where Sean Newcomb has saved the bullpen, right? The Lucas Giolito start, the bad one against the Rangers. Newcomb came in and really helped out that bullpen for the rest of the series. They were able to take 2 out of 3 there. So Sean Newcomb, hey, man, we were all talking about when Giolito was coming back, is this a guy that you DFA? Is this someone that, maybe you could send back down to AAA? Maybe he'll accept an assignment there. But the Red Sox kept him on, and it's proven to be a very good move, right? This guy has saved the bullpen on a few occasions now. So give it up for Newcomb, man. He's kind of turning into one of those unsung heroes for the Red Sox so far. Gotta love what he did, able to save the bullpen. Willie Abreu, despite the mishap out in right field, allowing the inside the park home run to Riley Green, hey, hit a home run tonight. So the bat's still looking hot with him. Abraham Toro, first home run as a Red Sox. Unfortunately, Abraham Toro did have an error at first base. That's obviously been a hot topic of conversation all across the baseball world, not just in Red Sox land, but all over. Everyone's talking Rafi Devers at first base lately, but Abraham Toro, I don't think it was that big of a deal making the error at first base. It is what it is. But good to see him get the bat going a little bit and got the home run. David Hamilton, 2 for 2 on the night. Couple of hard hit balls for him. He's been struggling as of late. So good to see Hamilton waking up a little bit. It is what it is. It's just one of those nights where it was pretty much lost from the early going. Like I said, I think a lot of people turned off the TV screens by that 4th inning. So let's get to game 2. Let's get the quick. What do they like to say? It's you move on quickly, right? Let's just forget this one. Let's go to game 2 here. And when it comes to game 2, I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like Houck, even just take off, what happened today. I feel like anytime you go into a Tanner Houck start, you kind of almost wonder, what are you going to get? It's like a box of chocolates with Tanner Houck. But with Brian Bayo, he has been as sure of a thing since coming back, after his start to the year got delayed, since he came back against that start or against the Mariners in that start. He's looked very good. 2.01 ERA so far on the year. Didn't have his best stuff last time out against the Rangers. Was lacking that command a little bit, but the stuff is there with Brian Bayo. Velo's looking good. Spin rates are looking good. So right now, I'm feeling pretty confident about Brian Bayo. Now, as of right now, the Tigers starter is to be determined, but it is lined up to be Cater Montero. This is a guy who did have some success last year, and he showed a lot of good things. If we go to the numbers from last year, taking a look here, overall, he had 19 games, 16 starts. Again, it wasn't amazing for the entire year, but he showed flashes of brilliance last year. 4.76 ERA, a 5.15 on the FIP. This was a guy who has pretty decent command. He was under 3 walks per 9 last year. With him, unfortunately, last year, he was giving up a lot of home runs. So let's see what happens in this start against the Red Sox. If it is indeed him getting the ball for tomorrow, again, it is to be determined, but it is lined up to be him. But so far, he's not showing too much. ERA at a 4.15. He's walking more batters. He's still giving up the home run ball, which is giving him the FIP at a 5.79. So, again, bad night, but you feel better going into this one with the way Brian Bayo has been. And a few of the guys from the Red Sox last year did get a bit of a taste of Montero. Again, if it is indeed him. Wilyer Abreu, a couple ABs. Bregman with a couple. Devers, 5 ABs against him. So, they have seen him. Let's see what the Red Sox offense can do. But they're going to have a bounce-back performance here in Game 2. Because in Game 3, you got Tarek Skubal. And that's not going to be a fun matchup. I wish Garrett Crochet was lined up for that Game 3 start. But it is what it is. But let's take a look at the chat here. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Blaine Turner. Tanner is not a starter. Tanner Houck, we'll have to pay attention to how he goes here over the next month or two. If he keeps having these inconsistencies, do you maybe get to a point where maybe the Red Sox got to think about a different course of action? We'll have to wait and see. Again, the Red Sox, obviously high expectations this year, and if he keeps having these inconsistencies throughout the year, it's going to be something to pay attention to, right? Especially as we get closer to the trade deadline. Do the Red Sox feel like maybe they got to make a move to beef up the rotation, right? The one thing about the Red Sox starting pitching this year, it's been pretty solid for the most part. They've just had their bumps along the way, but when they've had their bumps, they've been pretty bad ones. So I'm not ready to write Tanner Houck off by any means right now. We're in May. You guys still got to let things breathe a little bit, and he's shown good things up to this point. Unfortunately, the bad things were just pretty terrible. So, but Blaine Turner, you're also saying here, was an all-star in the first half of last year, fell apart in the second half. Yeah, since the second half of last year, Tanner Houck, he's definitely had his inconsistencies, right? So again, something to pay attention to as we get closer to the deadline. Moose 1534. Defense wasn't the best tonight. Yeah. The defense, that's another thing. If you're looking for something else that's been inconsistent, has been the defense, right? Bregman made a pretty nice play tonight, but when it comes to making the routine plays, the Red Sox have to do a better job at that. Taking a look. What else we got? Swahara, you're saying here Tanner might need a brief IL stint. I do wonder if that could be something that ends up helping him long term. I wouldn't be surprised if that is something we see over the next month or so. Again, got to pay attention. I'm very curious to see what the plan is going to be over these next few days. I'm sure we'll get some comments about it. But again, I don't think they're going to get too drastic as of right now. We'll see. We will see. What else we got here? Blaine, you're saying swap Sean Newcomb and Tanner Houck. And you also bring up a good point here. Nick Pivetta, they put him in the bullpen at one point. The thing with Sean Newcomb is, he's someone where, I think right now he seems to be more comfortable in that long relief role. That seems to be a role that he's grabbed by the horns here. As a starter, he was okay, but he wasn't really going deep into games. He did go pretty deep here tonight out of the bullpen, 5 2/3, not bad at all. But at this point, would you rather have Houck try to work through some things here think that's the way you would like to go. But I definitely see what you're saying here because Pivetta, when they put him in the bullpen, he was kind of able to get some things right. So we'll see. Marco Scutaro is my hero. Any update on Cutter Crawford? I believe we had an update recently, and I believe he threw a live bullpen this past weekend. So, Cutter Crawford, that's a name we haven't really been hearing about. So I'm expecting maybe around like mid-June, possibly mid-June to late June, maybe early July. They're going to have him go on a rehab assignment, but he is throwing the bullpens right now. I'd still say we're a good month away before we start really hearing some noise on Cutter Crawford. But everybody, unfortunately, not a great game tonight. Hopefully we get a better performance tomorrow from Brian Bayo. Let's try to get a bit more offense. Hopefully the defense gets a little bit more cleaned up tomorrow. But like we've seen with the Red Sox, they tend not to do very well in game ones. So let's see if they can bounce back once again in game two. But everybody, I'm going to wrap it up right there. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Unfortunately, a bad one, but I always appreciate all of the friendly faces coming out and watching here tonight on Monster Territory, brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Everybody, go have yourself a great rest of your night. If you are watching the replay of this, go have a good rest of your day, and we'll be back here tomorrow for Game 2. Have a good night, everybody. I'll talk to you next time.